Hey guys, how you doing? It's Mick here in the Bourbon Shed. I just want to do a follow-up video for Thirsty Thursday. Alright, so if you didn't see my last video or you didn't get into the group in time, you might have missed it, but being that it's National Bourbon Heritage Month, we wanted to do something a little different, maybe a little more special. So we came up with this idea that as a group, every Thursday we'll pay homage to a given distillery, and that's where we hope everybody in the nation will post something about the distillery, will have a pour of something from that distillery on Thursday. So in the poll, it became pretty clear that it's going to be Buffalo Trace. It was pretty high percentage votes went to Buffalo Trace. So I happen to have a little bit of Buffalo Trace in the shed, as you can see, and thought, well, let's kick it off by giving you just a little bit of background on Buffalo Trace. Talk about maybe some of the controversy. Talk about some of the cool things about Buffalo Trace that you may not have known. But the biggest thing is we want you to post your information, you to post some of those little tidbits. Have a look, go to the website. If you've been to the distillery, post some pictures in there. You know, we want to say thanks to the Buffalo Trace people, the people that go in there to work every day, helping to make this great bourbon that we enjoy so much. Obviously we enjoy it because you can't find it on the shelves anywhere. Just about, I guess some states get more than others. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we've got in front of us. It's from the standard Buffalo Trace up to the end here where I have the Stag Junior. These are probably the more accessible bourbons that you can get in Mash Bill 1. So they have two major mash bills. That's Mash Bill 1. This is Mash Bill 2, and then you have their wheated range. So really two main mash bills and then their wheated bourbon. So what's the difference is this one has a very low rye percentage in it. Right, so it's got the three main ingredients which most bourbons will have. Is you'll have your corn, which has to be over 51% to be called a bourbon. If it's less than 51%, the higher grain, which is usually a rye or a wheat, will be over 51%, and then it'll be called a rye, a straight rye, or a wheat. If it's a wheat bourbon, it's usually a bourbon 51% corn, but it uses wheat instead of rye. And you can have a combination of 4 or 5 different grains in there, but typically that's your three main ryes. The other one, of course, being a malted barley. So if you don't know, quick nerdy bit is malted barley is what they mean by malted is they put it in water or they feed it and they let it sprout, so it's just sprouting, and that way it creates I believe an enzyme that helps break the starches down and turn it into sugar. So when you look at your grain, it's the starch we want to convert to sugar so the yeast can feed on it and produce alcohol. Right, getting a little nerdy here, sorry. Okay, but yeah, so that by sprouting that barley or malting the barley, what you do is it can break down the sugars that hold those starch molecules together. So a starch chain is just a repeated chain of starch in there, so you want to be able to break that down and convert it to sugars. Doesn't that sound like fun? Yeah, it does. Alright, so enough of the nerdy talk. Mash Bill 1, just talk about it. So they haven't disclosed what the mash bill is, but it's over 51% corn. We know that. We think that it's, I think most of the time they're around 10 to 15% malted barley, and then you have some rye in there. We're thinking Mash Bill 1's about maybe 6 to 8%, and then on the Mash Bill 2 is 12 to 16%. So these are sweeter, more corn. I find these a little more leathery, a little darker notes, more sort of plum, cherry notes, and on these ones here it's a little more spice kick in it. It's a little more, I mean, they're so low in rye that maybe not the mintiness to it, but you get a little more peppery notes to it, a little more mintiness, a little more cinnamon, definitely, in these ones here. So figure out what you like, what taste you like, and that way you can figure out what mash bills you like, but then your palate will change over time too. And then the wheated ones, the wheated are just so much more smooth drinking, and that's why they're so popular. Is they're a lot more gentle. They don't have the spiciness in there, they don't have the dark woody oak leathery notes in there as much. Of course you get, if you got a 23-year-old pappy, yeah, you know, Van Winkle, it's going to have a lot of oak in it just because of the age it's been in there. But let's just talk to these ones here. You know, after all, right, we're Bourbon Life under 60. So all of these here you can get retail around 60 or under. of course, really hard to get that. With the secondary market pushing so much, you've got people out there trying to buy every bottle they can get their hands on it, because then they can sell some and then they don't have to pay for their own bottles, or they can make a lot of money on it. So that's pushed it up. That's not the distributor doing it. These guys don't sell the product at the inflated prices. There's a 3-tier rule in the US. You have to have, the distiller has to sell to a distributor has to sell to the liquor stores, the wholesalers and stuff like that. I don't know any other way to do it, but if you get a barrel pick, you've got to run it through a liquor store. It's called a 3-tier rule. Look that up. Very interesting. So don't be mad at the distillers, except for the fact that, you know, 20 years ago they should have known that we were going to be drinking more bourbon today, and they should have upgraded those distilleries. If you look back, they did. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Buffalo Trace is in the process now of spending over $1 billion in upgrades. They've got this massive upgrade. They've put in a lot more aging warehouses. If I remember, I'll take a picture of that, add it to here. But you can go onto buffalotrace.com. You can go on there and have a look. Just that'll be better. Go on to Buffalo Trace and do your own research. Have a look on there. They've got some pictures you can click on. It shows you the new still going in. It shows you the aging. One of the ones I found interesting was the drying rooms. So they got these big sheds, and one of them is a warehouse they haven't used for a while, and they're going to turn it into a drying room. So they take the used grains, the mash, they dry it, and they use it for cow feed, right? It's what a lot of companies do now. Is you don't want to waste, you don't want to do landfill, you want to use all of your waste where you can, either fueling your boilers, creating energy, but minimizing waste. So yeah, there we go. So mash bill 1, mash bill 2, and the weeded. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of tasting now. We are going to start with Eagle Rare, and I'll put the tasting. I've got 4 tastings here. We're going to go mash bill 1, mash bill 2, weeded, and then we're going to finish up with the stag. We put the stag last. It's 130 proof. I've got the batch 11, batch 14, and batch 15 here. We're going to taste the batch 14. We're going to do it last just because it's such high proof. You don't want to start with the high proof because it'll affect everything else, and it'll burn out your taste buds, and then you go to a lower proof and it just won't taste very good at all, typically. So we're going to start it then and work us up. So Eagle Rare is a 10-year. Talked about this once before, but it is a semi-single barrel, meaning that it used to be a single barrel, so they poured one barrel out, they put that into bottles, they shut the equipment down, they poured a new barrel in, and they put it. Now they automate it. So as they automate it, the barrel starts dumping. When that one's empty, they start dumping the next one. So there's some interchange where the 2 barrels mingle because of the automatic process. So they no longer put the single barrel label on it. I was just looking. I thought they'd gone back to putting the 10-year. Okay, it does. It has it down here, the age 10 years. It used to be up here 10 year. So they have put the age statement back in there. It's age 10 years. So you'd expect a little bit of oakiness, and yeah, that's pretty sweet. Pretty rounded, little bit of tobacco, little bit of earthy notes in there from the corn, and then let's try this one here. It's the Blanton's. So that's 90 proof. Now we got the 93 Blanton's with a little more rye in it. Yeah, straight away I get more spice in there. So spicy, kind of herbal. You know, like if you were eating some some seafood or something down in New Orleans, blackened chicken or something like that, and you get that little spice on it, that peppery, spicy note. So that's got a little bit of that in it, not too much, but that's just from the extra rye. Now we have the weeded. This is actually the 107. So I'm working my way up in proof from 90, 93, 107, and then we'll get to the 130 of the Stag Junior. Yeah, see, that doesn't have any of the spicy notes in it. It doesn't have as much of the darker leathery plum type notes in there. It's more sweeter. It's definitely vanilla. You get the vanilla and the caramel. It's just softer, if that makes any sense. It's not as harsh. It's not as earthy. Alright, so now the Stag Junior. Yeah, straight away, man, it's burnt brown sugar, burnt sugar. Toffee, burnt toffee, bark, just oak. It's, yeah, definitely some oaky notes in there. and a lot of caramels in there. So alright, so that's nosing through there. I can definitely pick up different notes on there. I can't say that if I was doing it blind I'd tell you which one was which, but just going side by side, definitely some differences. Yeah, so you get a lot more sweetness on that. You don't get a whole lot of spice. I do get a little bit of tobacco notes on there, but it's not peppery. It's kind of more sweet. Man, there's a good sweet finish on there. That finish on that is like, remember them gobstoppers, those big hard gobstopper lollies you put in your mouth and you suck on them forever? Yeah, but it's got that almost a gentle vanilla sweetness. That's what this has got on the finish. I really like that. Eagle Rare, man, it's just so good. I really like it. Boy, after drinking that and going straight to the Blanton's, absolutely I get the rye spice in there straight away. And it's only, you know, you're only talking from 8 to 12% difference, but I can absolutely taste it. A little more peppery, just a touch more cinnamon, just a touch though. It's and again, it's very similar to the sweetness on the finish. I like it. A lot of jokes about Blanton's, and it's the hype around the bottle. When you first have the Blanton's, you're like, oh my goodness, you know, and it's so good, and then you start getting into high proofs and everything else, and you go back to Blanton's and it just loses some of its appeal. I mean, it's cool and it's a good drink, it's a great couch pour, but that's why people put so much hate on it. It's so overhyped. When you drink Blanton's, you expect the angels to sing, you expect the harps to start playing. It's not going to happen. So it's smooth, it's easy drinking. So up to I'm not going to trash Blanton's. It's a good bourbon. Alright, so now we're going to try the Wheated 107, 107 proof, a little more proof on it. It's very muted compared to the other two right now. I'll give it a little stir, see if I can get it to release some of those flavoids. There it is. Yeah. So it's just so much more sweeter. It's there. You can get a little bit of ethanol on this. It's got a lot of flavor. Surprisingly, I actually get a little bit of cinnamon on there, but I think it's more just the heat from the ethanol. That's pretty good. Boy, that's got a good finish on it. And it's very smooth. And it's also full of flavor, so it doesn't have as much spiciness to it. It does the little Kentucky Hug, 107 proof. Alright, so let's get into this big boy here. Alright. Hey, did you all notice my shirt? That's right. It's Buffalo Trace Day, so I'll put my Buffalo Trace shirt on. Wow, that's got some perfume, flowery type notes. And then it's got loads of honey and oak, and boy, it's got a lot going on in the nose of the Stag Junior. So here's some notes. When you're drinking high proofs, something you might want to do is breathe in before you do it, and then take it in your mouth, swish it around, but before you swallow, breathe the ethanol out. Now, I don't know if you heard me go. That's what they call the Kentucky Chew. And you're just trying to mix the air and the bourbon around in your mouth to try and release some more of those flavors. You'll taste it up front on your tongue, to your back, and then you'll taste it as you go down. There's like 3 steps to your palate. There's your front palate, your mid palate, and then you finish. This is good on all of them. So this one here's got more tobacco notes. Definitely more oak in it. Again, hasn't been watered down. Now, if you get something and it's very oaky, you can actually put a low proof bourbon in it. It's the same sort of mash bill just to bring it back, or you can just put a few drops of water in it and you can release it down there and it'll help you taste it better. So if you get a high proof and you're like, oh, I don't like it, it's too high proof, all I can taste is the ethanol, do not be afraid to put a little bit of water in it and bring the proof point down. You'll still have a lot of the flavors in there. Not always the case. Sometimes I'll put drops of water in something and it's just completely flattened it, just destroyed it, and other times I'll put it in there and it just gets creamier. You'd think it'd take the creaminess away, but something like this, especially high proof, try it. I keep this little glass here, it's a little mini Glen. Keep that in there, and I usually have some water in it, and now and again when I'm first trying a high proof bourbon is I'll just put a few drops in there just to see what it does. It'll open it up. The other thing is the high proof hides a lot of the faults in it, so the lower proof ones you can pick up more of the nuances and so forth. So sometimes it's good to just put a bit of water in there and just see what you got, what you can find going on. But that's delicious. I do love that. That's the batch 14 I'm drinking right now. So anyway, listen, I hope everybody participates this Thursday on the Thirsty Thursday. Now pay homage to your favorite distiller, which this week of course is Buffalo Trace. Thanks to everybody that's been a part of this nation in here, and keeping cool and being friendly and helping each other out. The posts have been fantastic. Alright, cheers guys, thanks for joining me tonight. Really look forward to seeing your posts. Get out there, get your favorite bottle of Buffalo Trace, get some pictures of when you went to the distillery, go search some facts that you think are real interesting and post a little post on there and share away. Cheers guys, I'm out. Thanks from the Bourbon Shed. Good night.